NoRoy is a platformer, my specialty. It has its ups and downs, literally. Your goal is to make it to the top, and try not to fall down while doing so. The character you play as is NoRoy, a white blob of utter adorableness. I don't think that's a word. It doesn't really matter though, you get the point. The tension is extremely high most of the time, and getting the hang of the game requires a lot of failing. Before I get ahead of myself, the game was developed and published by Edco Games. Now let's get into it. NoRoy is incredibly agile. You can triple jump, bounce off objects, slide under saw blades, and a whole lot more. The game's speed and character mechanics feel amazing too. Every perfect slide or narrow escape builds tension as you try to make your ascent. The triple jump does feel a little overpowering at times, but the game gets pretty hard fairly quick, so I'm okay with it and all the slight advantages that come along. The level design is really good, 98% of the time. I do have one problem with some of the obstacle placements. A few can easily be skipped past with triple jump, as long as you time it right. But as I said, the difficulty makes up for that. Anyway, the overall layout kind of reminds me of pinball. Walls are lined up perfectly to give you a slight shot at landing. Saw blades are angled at certain corners to throw you around when you fall. Lasers are placed to block specific paths. And there are punching plants placed randomly that'll knock you around if you come in contact. There is a few good things around the map though. All around are tiny white dots. These refill your health, slightly, along with campfires laid about the map, which refill your health entirely. They also act as a sort of checkpoint, but not in the sense that you'll always spawn back at whichever one you previously passed. Instead, the fires only save you if you pass by one while in the process of falling after a death. It really adds to the difficulty since it's all just luck of the fall at that point. Speaking of difficulty, there are two that I know of. The first is the normal mode, but after completing the climb, you can play it on impossible. I haven't gotten to try it out yet, but being that it makes everything a one-hit kill and removes checkpoints, I'm gonna save that challenge for another day. The hearts up in the top left are the amount of checkpoints you can place, and you can gather more by collecting them around the map. You also usually get one of the campfires, and I'll always take some more lives. Well, checkpoints in this case. The reason I referred to them as lives is because technically you can't die permanently in the game. Rather than dying entirely and respawning, you turn into this little black ball once you take enough damage. Then you fall until you hit a solid platform without bouncing off, hit a campfire by chance, or reach the bottom. Most of all, you have no control over it, so you can just continuously fall level after level until you reach the 8-meter mark. Once you're past the 57-meter mark or so, there is a sort of barricade, but I do believe it's still possible to fall below it. I haven't yet, but I do think it's possible. All I'm saying is, don't forget to place a checkpoint every now and again. They respawn you wherever you place them if you either fall out of the level or die in general. Sorry to overdramatize that, but I gotta hammer in the fact that the checkpoints are your best friend if you decide to get or play this game. Don't use them sparingly, use them necessarily. The music is extremely subtle, most of the time, with the game focusing more on the noises the environment makes and eerie sounds coming from the unknown. It does pick up every now and again with some piano and drums, but it's never overwhelming. Moving on, the game has tons of hazards to take you out along the way. Saw blades and lasers in quite a few different forms. Spikes, plants that punch you to the heavens, blocks that disappear in a second after you touch them, as well as bugs and beetles everywhere. The beetles can actually cause damage, but the flying bugs just knock you back if they come in contact. I'm sure there's also more variations that'll show up as I get higher, just based off of the Steam video and description. The hardest enemy so far, again, I haven't made it to the top yet, has been the Black Heart Demons. That's not what they're called, but they don't have a name. So yeah, you know the drill. They spawn in as soon as you grab a black heart, and if they come in contact with you, it's instant dive time, unless you make it to the next level. I didn't really have an issue with this enemy too often. Rather than freaking out when it came across, I would focus on avoiding the initial heart altogether. When I couldn't though, it would normally push me to my limits trying to stay away from it. Especially since they pursue you until the end of whichever level you're on, so make it to the top as fast as possible if you pick one up by mistake. Overall, I really do like this game. The tension keeps you on your toes, and the unique death system makes it a real challenge at times. The environment is dark and eerie, really pushing that horror theme, although it's nowhere near as dark as Gyroscopia. The music and sound effects do a really good job of topping off the environment, and all the different hazards have their own learning curve that you have to overcome to move on. It's $10 on Steam and is well worth it. So yes, I recommend picking it up whether you're a platformer fan or just starting to look at the genre. NoRoy is also in a bundle with 2 other games, Sophie's Curse and Lost Neighbor. I haven't played either of those though, so I can't recommend them. The bundle is worth it though. Being 33% off for the 3, you can get all of them for about the same price as NoRoy by itself. I'm sure there's a whole lot more to uncover here, and I hope y'all check it out. For more news, reviews, or whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed. Have a wonderful day.